Hey guys, Mike the Cop. I have a confession to make. I watched absolutely zero moments from the Super Bowl, the halftime show, any of the commercials, anything. And not because I have some massive axe to grind with the NFL, who does have policies and practices that have been historically anti-police, and not because football actually bores me to watch most times, but because I was watching my grandkids and my granddaughter was watching PJ Masks, and I fell asleep with her on the floor. That's really the real reason. But as I caught up on social media today, I noticed this commercial that I believe was played at some point during the game or halftime, I don't know, from Anquan Boldin, an NFL player who had initiated the Players Coalition. I'm not going to try to recap the commercial for you. I'm just going to let you watch it. Here it is.
Yeah, I'll never forget that night. I was still playing with the 49ers, and my wife walks up after the game. They told me that my cousin Corey had been killed. Corey broke down on the side of the road, and a plainclothes police officer pulled up. Then this guy starts screaming. All you hear from there is 3 shots.
Why is my son gone today? Why?
He would give you his shirt. He would be cold just to keep you warm.
This officer was in plain clothes. Corey had no way of knowing who he was.
There's just some things that are bigger than football. And I felt like starting a Players Coalition and affecting change in this country was one of those things.
We focused on police community relations, education and economic advancement, and criminal justice reform. Had it not been for the work that we do, Corey's death would have been in vain. The best way to inspire change is to be it.
Now, I would never begrudge anyone who wants to do more than just lip service to their cause. You know, I think it's easy to kneel. It's much harder to stand up and get your hands dirty and get into the community and do something effective. But I would not begrudge anyone from actually doing something that they believe in and trying to raise awareness, bring about change, raise funds for something that they actually are engaged in. I do the same thing myself with humanizing the badge and call for backup. So no problems there. My problem in this case, in response to this, is not that someone's trying to affect change in their community. It is that they're trying to leverage a tragic situation in a way that leaves people believing that that situation is the norm and is what needs to be changed. Allow me to explain. To be clear, Corey Jones and his loss of life, that whole situation was indeed tragic. But the officer involved, who is in plain clothes, Officer Raja, for whatever reason, look into the case yourself, for whatever reason decided to take those actions that night, was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 25 years in prison. And so while we want to talk about criminal justice reform, maybe we should use a situation in which criminal justice system failed and didn't work. It's like any other situation in which you're calling out something, think, for example, the times that people just use the term Nazi or racist as blanket terms, and it takes away from the real situations in which people are actually being racist or Nazi-esque. In this case, to paint law enforcement officers as somehow the problem leading to this tragedy, when the reality is that that officer was held quite accountable for his actions, as most are when they are arrested. What exactly are you doing besides taking away from where they're not? Would people look at me funny if I started, for example, a coalition, a cop coalition that was all about affecting change from the NFL players getting arrested? Yeah, I'll link that. You can look at it for yourself. USA Today, 956 arrest records on their list. And all of those victims, should the cops start a cop coalition against NFL violence? I'm sure you can imagine how that would be perceived. And to make that correlation, it'd be sort of nonsensical, because the reality is that most NFL players historically have not victimized other people. They've just played their game and gotten their paychecks. Likewise, we shouldn't be judging a profession and talking about affecting change in the social justice system by cherry picking a situation which actually disproves the reason you started it in the first place. We should all be seeking ways that we can affect positive change in our communities, but we should do that in ways that are driven by reality and not further cause divide based on false perceptions. That's my take. What's yours? Leave it in the comments. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. If you subscribe where you see it, or sharing this video, all that good stuff.